Somehow, this legitimate argument for human dignity, which is normally against assisted suicide, has been twisted around to support assisted suicide. Euthanasia is slated to begin for the mentally ill in Canada in March, and it was already floated in the province of Quebec for infants. Now, what this push for euthanasia really boils down to, however, is the government has become completely utilitarian, with no concern for the human person whatsoever. We're all numbers and not human beings. It was actually inevitable once we went down the road of abortion. But this utilitarianism can also be demonstrated. It's not just conjecture. Look, there was an October 2020 report titled, and I quote, "Cost Estimate for Bill C7, Medical Assistance in Dying," end quote. Now, the Canadian Parliamentary Budget Officer presented that report, and it was because assisted suicide became legal on June 17th, 2016. So this is the 2020 report. Canada's healthcare costs, he said, have dropped $86.9 million. Check out this chart that shows that. So I'm sure the push for medical assistance in dying, or MAID as it's known, is now easier to understand than ever. Why bother with end-of-life costs and healthcare when you can simply kill people through MAID? Let's not forget that this is exactly what Nazi Germany did under Hitler. The scourge of assisted suicide has been around for quite some time, but now it seems that it is taking on a new, even sacred connotation. The New York Times columnist Roth Douthat describes euthanasia in Canada, commenting that mass acceptance, and this is a quote right from Roth Douthat's article, "Mass acceptance of euthanasia probably won't replace the Christian prohibition on suicide with a libertarian or secular neutrality. Rather," he says, "a society that encourages euthanasia will eventually tend to sacralize it, reaching for pre-Christian or post-Christian narratives in which the decision to kill oneself is not just permissible, but holy." And you know, we can already see this happening before our very eyes. The people pushing this agenda have argued that MAID can preserve human dignity. Somehow, this legitimate argument for human dignity, which is normally against assisted suicide, has been twisted around to support assisted suicide. So you can see this in an article by Richard Hanania. He wrote the article on his newsletter on Substack, and it's titled, "Canadian Euthanasia as Moral Progress." It was published on January 3rd, and this is a quote from it. "Suicide is in many cases a noble and heroic act, and it should therefore have state sanction. For those who are suffering, it can be a gift to their families, and by allowing them to determine their ultimate destiny, give them a way to reassert control that they've lost in every other imaginable sense. We can be inspired at the end of a movie by a protagonist who kills himself once he has failed his mission, or continued existence harms those he loves, but never by a story that ends up with a hero being hooked up to machines, unable to take care of himself, and slowly deteriorating. If he can't do it himself, we understand and sympathize with a friend who carries it out." So this is pure utilitarianism, and it does reflect where we are as a society. Once you lose the thought of God or recognition of God in the afterlife, it's all you're living for. And then everything like this makes sense. Obviously, if there's a God, you're not going to choose your ultimate end. Your ultimate end is chosen by you in your works on earth, not from deciding to put yourself out of existence. There is no such thing. You don't put yourself out of existence. Only God does that. The very one who put you into existence, not by your own choice, by the way. So the appeal of this approach seems to be to release people from suffering. And that's the point everyone fails to notice. MAID, medical assistance in dying, does not end suffering, it ends the sufferer. It does not alleviate pain, it eliminates the person experiencing the pain. Author Leon Kass, in his article called "Dehumanization Triumphant," made this point. He said, "The manufacturer of a right to die as a gift to those not dying fast enough is in fact the state's abdication of its duty to protect innocent life and its abandonment, especially of the old, the weak, and the poor." Cass also added that from a medical perspective, the venerable Hippocratic Oath clearly rules out physician-assisted suicide, and this medical ethic has been around for over 2 millennia. Clearly, the cultural approach to assisted suicide is changing as ethics are changing. And now, as long as an action can be rationalized in some way, it seems that anything theoretically possible can be ethical. This points to everything that Alex Schadenberg, the executive director of the Euthanasia Prevention Coalition, said when he was on my show last month. Hi, everyone. This is John Henry Weston. We hope you enjoyed this program. To see more like it, be sure to hit the subscribe button below to get all the latest content from LifeSite News. Check the links in the description to read more and connect with us on social media so that you can stay up to date with all the latest life, family, faith, and freedom news. Thanks for watching, and may God bless you.